Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala.
25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. We have an interesting thing here in Central Florida. We have this thing called Epcot. And in Epcot, you can go to this, the land of the nations or whatever it's called, and you can kind of experience what it feels like, sort of, kind of, to be in Germany and Italy and France and et cetera. If you go to Miami, you can pretend you're in Puerto Rico.
Yes,
right?
you can.
But Puerto Rico's not that far away. Mm-hmm. And yet every time I've gone to Miami, it's like, okay, I'm just going to pretend I'm in Puerto Rico. I'm doubting it's anything like it. One of these days I'll get there. Emma Chaves is on the phone. She is an artist. She's also active in several Puerto Rican community organizations. She's the co-founder of the National Conference of Puerto Rican Women in Miami. I think she grew up in New York, though, if I remember my notes somewhere. Her book is called Tales from Alturas, the Puerto Rican mystique. Let me try my Spanish. The Puerto Rican mystique.
Nice.
How do you like that, huh?
I like that.
How did I do that?
That was really good.
Emma Chaves. Good morning, Emma.
Good morning, Larry. How are you today?
Oh, I hear you so much better now that I don't know. I don't know what happens when we're not on the air, but on the air it sounds so good. Where are you calling from right now?
I'm calling from Miami.
You're in Miami. All right.
And beautiful Miami.
Am I right? Did you grow up in New York?
I grew up in Brooklyn, New York.
And then what happened?
Some years ago.
And then what happened? You had health problems or something?
Yes, when I was a child, I grew up asthmatic, and at that time, my parents became very concerned. And at one point, my mother and father separated. My mother took my sister and me to Puerto Rico. My brother stayed behind with my father. And for 2 years, we lived in Puerto Rico. I was a child then, between 12 and 14 years old. And when I went there, I was kind of abruptly, I was shocked with what I saw.
You had culture shock?
A culture shock,
yeah.
I would call it. Because in Brooklyn, although we weren't wealthy, I had everything I needed. I had a roof over my head. I went to the dentist. I had cold and hot running water. Beautiful, a toilet that flushed. When I went to Puerto Rico at that time, and then again, remember, I was an impressive child. I was about 12, and this was back in the middle of the last century, around 1947 to 1949. And all of a sudden, in this mountain town to which my mother took me in order to help alleviate the asthma, I ran across and I looked around me, and I saw barefoot children. I saw children with distended stomachs, what they called lombrices there, a tapeworm.
Mm-hmm.
Adults, young men with teeth missing, their front teeth missing. And all around me, what I saw was want, necessity and want. But at the same time, I saw what to me was what I describe as a resilient people, because these were people who apparently accepted what they had. And they went about doing what they had to do, most of them just eking out a living and being happy. In the evenings, they would pull out their guitars and strum and play. And when you passed them by, the men would bow their heads and say hello to you. The women would be smiling. And it was only after I retired here in the States that I had time to think about things, that my mind kept going back to those days. And I started thinking about that and wondering, and I started, all of a sudden, I started taking notes, recalling decades later what I had seen and trying to recall this from what I saw in the mind of a child at that time.
Wow.
And with somewhat of a fading memory and dim eyes now.
Now, some of the things that you have in the book sound like they are, it's not just poverty, but attitude driven or
exactly.
Or maybe even cultural, although cultural makes it sound nice. Some of the things weren't so nice.
No. Things could have been better. At that time, Puerto Rico had been through very hard times. You had of course, the Depression that took place here, the Great Depression, and of course it hit Puerto Rico. They had two devastating hurricanes. at the time. There was, I mentioned the Volstead Act, the fact that they had to shut down rum factories. Rum could not be distributed. But at the same time, people were distilling rum in the back rooms of their homes. And people were trying to make a living whichever way they could. And so in that area, of course, most of the people at that time were earning their living by either picking coffee beans or working at the sugarcane plantations, which is very hard, back-breaking work, and working in the tobacco fields. And women, of course, would sew. They try to embroider. They get piecework to sew. They had, some women, and I portray a couple of these in the book. They'd wash clothing and iron, or they'd have their daughters contracted to wealthier people to clean house, even at young ages.
What were the sons doing?
I beg your pardon?
You said the daughters. What would the sons be doing?
The sons are out there also helping the fathers as soon as they reach a certain age, and unfortunately, that was one reason why many of the young men were not educated.
So it is interesting. I mean, Puerto Rico is part of the United States, and yet it sounds like it's. I mean, the way you've described it so far, at least in the 40s, it almost sounds like a third world country in the 40s.
Exactly. That was why even then I was shocked at what I saw. Now that is not the story today, as far as Puerto Rico and the people. The Puerto Rico is still in a difficult situation again today, difficult financial situation. But as far as the people, and I would say, and I say this in Alturas also, the book, that ever since World War II, there has been an enlightenment taking place with Puerto Ricans. As soon as these young boys went to war, World War II, they left this insular, confined island where all you had was poverty, illiteracy, ignorance, superstition. All of a sudden, you had this flood of men leaving the island and going to Paris, Gay Paris. They were going to Germany. They were going to Italy. They were going to the Pacific. They came back with new ideas, with new visions, new vistas. And at the same time, compulsory education was taking place in Puerto Rico. So the women were also getting educated, and attitudes started evolving and changing. So that even women who were so protected at that time and were not able to do too much on their own were able to earn professional, were able to become professionals and come to this country many times on their own and seek their betterment. But
you're not seeing it as an onlooker. You're a participant as well. Were you finding yourself in some of those same circumstances, or was your mother successful in isolating you from them?
No, fortunately, I look at my father. My father was an easygoing person, and he always stressed to my brother, my sister, and me, education. He said, educate yourself. And he said, this is your country. Educate yourself and master the English language. And so at one point I asked my mother, I said, is this your country too? And she said, yes. She says, this is my country, but not in the same way as the country in which I was born. She said, my heart is over there, so therefore you should respect the land of your forefathers, but you're going to be making a living here.
Going back to when some of the families contracted out their female children, was everybody above board to the people they were contracted out to, or was there some kind of abuse?
Well, the abuse was that these individuals were paid, barely anything. I mean, they should be happy that they're getting, food and board was the major thing there, but they were expected, these young ladies, to earn and do whatever was asked of them. I don't think the physical abuse, that type of thing was predominant. I don't know if it ever existed or not, but I do know that these young ladies had to work hard, whatever time. If they were called on to do something at 10 o'clock at night, fine. and what they earned was minimal. And then during the weekends, they were able to visit the family.
We need to take a little break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Emma. Emma Chaves is on the phone. Her book is called Tales from Alturas, The Puerto Rican Mystique. We'll find out more about what's in the book. And by the way, the phone lines are open if you want to call and say something. I know we've got a lot of Puerto Rican out there, Puerto Rican listeners, or Puerto Rican Americans, or whatever you call them. Whatever you call it, it is America. Puerto Rico is America. Or we'll take a little break and be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. For today, intervals of clouds and sunshine with a shower or thunderstorm around, mainly during the afternoon hours over the inland areas, the high 84 to 88. Partly cloudy tonight, there may be a shower in spots, low 70 to 74. Tomorrow, intervals of clouds and sun with an afternoon shower with thunderstorm popping up, the high 83 to 87. And for Saturday, more clouds and sun with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, high 82 to 86. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Joe Lundberg.
Whether you're building it up or knocking it down, get it done, rent it now. Sunbelt Rentals is here to make your job a little easier. Our knowledgeable staff will help you find the right equipment for any job, big or small. Did you know that Sunbelt Rentals carries heaters, air conditioners, generators, lighting, traffic control, and so much more? So whether you're building it up or knocking it down, we've got the equipment you need. Get it done, rent it now. And right now, for a limited time, you can have it for less. Just by mentioning this ad, if you rent it Friday afternoon, you can keep it the whole weekend and only pay for one day. But this is a limited time offer, so stop into Sunbelt Rentals today, Northwest 27th, just a quarter mile east of I-75. For more information, just give us a call, 352-369-9101. 352-369-9101. Sunbelt Rentals. Get it done, rent it now. 352-369-9101.
If you're anything like I was, the thought of getting older was the last thing on your mind. But here we are. For me, it started slowly. The lack of energy, never being in the mood. And when I was, I could never perform at my best. I tried the pills and other treatments with minimal results, and all but given up on my sex life. Then I found the doctors at New Male Medical Center. Wow, they made a new male out of me. Feel like I'm 25 again. I have renewed vigor, so much more energy, and no longer worry about my performance. New Male treated me like my situation was one of a kind, with a custom treatment plan that really works. I feel great. They can create one for you too. It does not matter if you suffer from low testosterone, erectile dysfunction, or just want to last longer. New Male will help you.
Call New Male Medical Center today at 352-404-4779. 352-404-4779. That's 352-404-4779. It will change your life. 352-404-4779.
Want to learn more about your furnace or air conditioner? Tune in this Saturday for free tips and expert advice on how to get the most out of your heating and air conditioning system. Or get a free AC rejuvenation by being the first person to go to cleanmyac.com. That's cleanmyac.com. Saturday, free tips and expert advice on how to get the most out of your heating and air conditioning system. Or get a free AC rejuvenation by being the first person to go to cleanmyac.com. That's cleanmyac.com.
12 minutes now before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Emma Chaves is on the phone, and she's down in Miami. You know, I was saying at the beginning that because I've never been to Puerto Rico, so if I go to Miami, I try to imagine it's what Puerto Rico looks like. So I went just during the break, I went online to the Google Maps. I did the street view of San Juan, and it sort of kind of does look like Miami there, but I'm guessing there's a lot of differences that I can't see in pictures. And it sounds like we're learning a lot about the people of Puerto Rico. From Emma, our interview with Emma. Emma, so you were at what age? Remind me what age you moved to Puerto Rico.
I was 12 years old, from 12 to 14, which I would call an impressionable age. At least it was for me.
Yeah. So you had dreams of your own back then, and was one of them to be a writer? I mean, obviously you're very talented.
No, back then I had no particular dreams of my own. I was still in a sort of a child mentality and had no thoughts of anything at all. And as a matter of fact, this was sort of a sharp awakening. But I didn't think of writing at all until later on in my life. As I said, I've been dabbling a little bit here and there, but I've never had the time to really focus on writing, and it was only after retirement that I was able to sit down and take time and wonder about things and why this had happened and what I had seen. And a vision kept coming before me of something I had seen then. A little girl, barefoot little girl with her friends playing around outside in a meadow in the rain while the sun was shining.
Mm-hmm.
And they were singing a song and playing with a dog, and that's it. So I saw that at that time. It didn't matter. As I said, decades later, that picture kept coming back to me to the point where I was almost obsessed with it. So one day I decided to pick up a pencil and start jotting down what I remembered of that isolated scene. And little by little, this figure of Altagracia came into my mind. Even her name, I don't know where I got it from. It's more of a name that's used in the Dominican Republic, but although it's also used in Puerto Rico.
Huh.
And so I started with her, and then once I had written a little sketchy story about her, I realized that I had to write something about her mother. And when I wrote about her mother, that required me to write about her mother, the grandmother. And so that's how this whole book evolved.
Wow, interesting. We have a listener calling in. Let's take that phone call. Emma Chaves is our guest. The book again is Tales from Alturas. Good morning. You're on the air with Emma.
Yes, good morning. I've had the opportunity of visiting Puerto Rico several times, and we do most of our cruising out of San Juan, which is wonderful. People are great, food is great, wonderful place. My question to you is, and I always wondered, why did the people turn down statehood, possibility of becoming a state? They voted against it.
Well, you have the people are more or less divided on that, half and half, almost 50-50. Many people, especially, I would say, not necessarily the older ones, but there are a group of people that are very happy with the situation in the sense that they can speak Spanish. They prefer Spanish as the first language. They are intent on maintaining their heritage and their history and their background, and they feel that by becoming a state, this will be lost, that they will be then forced to speak English, that their descendants will slowly use the Spanish language, that slowly their history will recede into the background and eventually disappear. So you see a strong movement there to, you may call it backward or status quo or forward, whatever. But there is that thing in the background there that says, let us maintain the Spanish language. But really, my own feeling on that is you can be strong, you can maintain the Spanish language and the English language as well. These are two beautiful languages. They both have beautiful histories. You can do both. There is a Spanish saying, el que habla dos idiomas vale por dos, which roughly translated says, if you speak two languages, you are worth two people.
All right. Does Pig Latin count?
Yeah.
I'm good with Pig Latin. So tell me about this part. There's one part in the book that I'm wondering about, and it's us guys. Sometimes we are way too forward, way too aggressive. Yeah, I guess that's a good word. The word machismo is used in the book a few times. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's something that sounds like it would be we would be better off if we changed that. Definitely, we would be better off if we removed it completely. Mm. That is there's nothing really positive about machismo as we understand it, or as I understand it. Chivalry and cavalierism and that thing is fine. I love having a man open the door for me, and I'll say thank you, and it's great. It makes me feel great, and it makes him feel great. But when it comes to something darker than that, such as... you help us understand what machismo is, actually. Mm-hmm.
As I see it, machismo is the implied right of a man to usurp and control a woman born free, and have power over her to not only tell her what to do, but expect her to follow everything that he tells her to do. And this is not freedom for a woman.
No. And does it go beyond telling? I mean, is he sexually abusive, or is that a different level?
Well, we've seen where this can lead to physical abuse. Many women are abused and many women die every year, and it's not only in Hispanic countries, all over the world. But through the Hispanic culture, and I know that through the Puerto Rican culture, this sense of machismo does exist. It runs right through the whole culture. And it does not help women. I don't think it helps men. I don't think it helps culture.
No. So is Miami... Okay, is Miami helping in that? In other words, if you're living in Miami... I'm trying to think of somebody who I would know there. Gloria Estefan. Would she? I mean, she seems like a tough woman. She's not going to take anything from, what's the guy's name she's married to? Her husband.
Emilio.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, does America? Because we have this attitude here that you're not going to mess with me because I'm free, and I'm a woman, and I'm not going to take any crap from you men, and you know, vice versa. We say the same thing. So does that translate over to the island?
Yes, definitely.
Good. Well, that's good.
And one way I can see that is that women back in the past had to be married, or else they were defamed and disgraced and so forth. And now you have so many partnerships going on between men and women, you know, and all around. And so women, as I said, they're much freer. And as a matter of fact, my own opinion is that many times women are more outspoken than men in Puerto Rico specifically.
You also address dreams and goals and passions in your book, and you address them specific to the Hispanic,
I can't hear you too well at this moment.
I'm sorry. You address dreams and passions in your book, and sometimes you bring up how important they are to the Hispanic culture, and then you bring up how important they are to the rest of the cultures in the world, how everybody should have their own dreams and passions, but we should all integrate with one another.
Exactly. I think without dreams, it would be very difficult to live in this world. Dreams they represent hope and something better, because you're always looking ahead when you dream to the possible future and always aiming toward that. So dreams are very important.
One of the things I wanted to make sure to mention now, when Donald Trump says something about Mexicans, are other Hispanics offended by that, or should that be? I mean, I know the Mexicans are offended by it, but all Hispanic. I mean, it's not. You know, he never said anything about Puerto Ricans. Obviously, I mean. And I don't think he meant all Mexicans, but I mean, did you take it as offensive? And maybe not just him, maybe any of them.
No, I think all Hispanics were offended by that. When he said that about Mexicans, he said that about all of us.
Oh, okay. Well, one of the things we've learned recently is that some of the words, the Spanish words that we know, are more associated with Spain than they are with Puerto Rico or Mexico, and I found that interesting. So, is this your first book?
Yes, it is.
Did you write it in Spanish also?
No. I don't think I can carry it through in Spanish.
Oh, okay.
Because it's my first language.
I have a copy of the book. I'd like to give it away. It's called Tales from Alturas, the Puerto Rican Mystique. Emma Chaves is the author, and I have a copy right here. The rest of us, however, have to go buy it. Emma, do you have a website so we can go buy the book?
You can buy the book at Amazon.com. It's available at Barnes & Noble also. At this time, I don't have a website. Okay.
Well, thank you for being on the air with us, Emma. I love listening to what you're saying. One of these days, I want to visit Puerto Rico. I would enjoy myself, wouldn't I?
I think you would. You would probably start out in San Juan.
Right.
Seeing the beautiful the colonial part of San Juan. And from there, eventually, you would have to take a trip to the interior of the island, and that way you would appreciate the beautiful scenery, the mountains in the background, the plants, the feeling that gets into you as you ride by. It is a beautiful island.
Wow.
Well, one day I will get down there, but until then, I'll just have to pretend by going to Miami. Emma, thank you so much for being on.
Your dreams.
Thank you for being on the air with us today. You're definitely welcome back anytime. If you're in this part of Florida, come into the studio and do this again.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, we'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville.